We're back attacking the mic, hype like Dom, Benny Bassett, and Amanda K. Turpin. Almost. Back to tell you about yesterday's day, which was, I had this grand idea that when I started looking at like day trips and things that you could do out of Edinburgh, like bus trips that will take you around. And they had this one like long 12-hour bus trip that would take you to the Isle of Skye. And so I was like, let's do that. But it was not cheap. And you only get off and stop where they let you. Where they tell you to stop. And
it was also run by the KGB.
Which is unfortunate because they seemed real nice. But I don't know if you guys know this about me, but I drive a lot in my job. And so I like to control where I go, when I go there, when I stop, when I don't stop.
Ben was like, how hard could it be?
I mean, no, there can't be that many people driving around the Highlands of Scotland, right? Wrong. Also, it's only 2-lane highways everywhere. They don't do, well, unless you're in the very, very big, like between Edinburgh and Glasgow, there's no super highways, divided highway. No.
It's just you and oncoming traffic.
And yeah, a lot. And they're all windy roads. I saw maybe one straight road the whole entire time. So like if you want to pass, you gotta cross your fingers and close your eyes.
Yeah.
It was great. But anyway, so yesterday we rented a car. We had to walk. Edinburgh is pretty hilly, if you didn't know this. It's like...
Ben compared it to San Francisco.
I felt a lot like both building... I know it sounds weird because, we're talking about a very old city, but there was a lot about it that felt like San Francisco to me. Anyway, there's also even that little hill. We have Coit Tower in San Francisco. They have that tower and columns that were at the one end. I don't know. There's a lot that's kind of similar.
Both have buildings.
Both have homes and water, like a big waterway, the ocean. I'm just saying, it might be more in common than you hike. But H-I-N-K, hike, T-hike. All right. So we left rented a car in Edinburgh, and just a little guy. Back to the manual transmission because it's my favorite. And we went to Stirling to see Stirling Castle. And we're going to talk about Braveheart a few times over the next day or two of videos because it's one of my favorite movies of all time. Historical inaccuracies be damned. I love that movie. And so the Battle of Stirling is like the very first battle of the movie, and so also not really historically. Anyway, we went to the castle, which was really different from kind of all the other castles. It was kind of redone, but left a little bare, with the exception of a really beautiful exhibit on the Highlanders and some of the regiments from the military, and beautiful gardens, like kind of outside on the outside castle, and the views, because again, it's built on a rock, and so as you're driving up to it, it's really beautiful. There's a really wonderful stone statue of Robert the Bruce outside, and if you look out from the castle walls, at least to the east, you can see the William Wallace National Monument. It's kind of neat to think that Robbie and Willie are hanging out together, like in their own two respective sites, looking across each other. It's kind of cool. Anything you liked about the castle or wanted to remark upon?
It was just cool to kind of get the story straight on the characters and events that surround the story of Braveheart.
Yeah.
Because we both really enjoy that story.
Yeah. And kind of exactly what happened in that battle. Really well planned ambush by Scots. and William Wallace, and I forget the Whaley was the other guy's name. Pretty sure Mornay. I think it's Mornay. Where did I come up with Whaley? Anyway, either of the, again, comment if you can remember the other guy's name. But they were the kind of two in charge of the sneak attack and or surprise attack.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, we went to the castle. Everything over yesterday and today were a little, because there's a lot of rushed. Just because I don't know if they picked up on this, but I like to do all of the things for a little bit. So poor Amanda's like, history is her jam. She wants to read every plaque. She wants to learn all the things, which, I'm not mad. I get it. I'm like, I read the first and last sentence. I'm like, that's how it started. That's how it ended. There's what it looked like. But no, so I'm kind of like trying to tell her that we should move, but not say you have to, and find out, what are the things she's really wants to get out of this place or that place. But I'm also the one that wanted to take us there because I wanted to get something and see it as well. I'm just a visual person. Like I like to look out from the walls, and I like to look at the pictures and the paintings, and I'm like, all right, that's cool. Like, I don't know who the fourth Earl of, bandwagon. I don't know. Anyway, it was wonderful, but I could see the Wallace monument, and William Wallace is like my dude. Love him. Love the story, aggrandized or otherwise. It's like 10-minute drive. And I'm like, oh, we'll just drive right to it. No. If you don't know, it's like a very tall
it's a
tower with like this crown at the top. It's really beautiful, but the crown is like very I don't know what you call them, like pointy. Spiry. It looks very like imposing, kind of on the skyline. And what I loved about it is, to me, it was like you had to climb this tower. So it's 700, 300. It's like 400 to 500 steps, and very tight, like
the whole
old
thing,
castle turret.
It's just like a big old spiral staircase. I do appreciate that they've kind of like made it into about like 3 levels, and each level is a different exhibit of a museum. So it's a great excuse to try to catch your breath.
And I needed it. I was having a little panic attack because you could kind of see outside as you were going, and it's tight. It was like all the things, and that's what I was gonna say. I liked that in a monument to not just William Wallace, they also had like a Hall of Heroes, which were like all these important figures and figurettes.
They're just figures.
Men and ladies. Well, I just wanted to point out that they didn't add women until 2019, and it's important. And we're catching up, Good job, everybody. A little late, but good job. So it was like honoring a lot of Scottish history on top of just about William Wallace, but a lot of his contemporaries, a lot of folks that have kind of carried on those ideals, and how his characters become this international image or story about fighting for oppressed people. And I thought it was really well done. Mm-hmm. But I liked that, like, in climbing the tower, you had to have a little bravery, a little strength, a little, like, all the kind of things that are his story is supposed to be about. You kind of have to listen. I understand it's a small thing, but you have to kind of exhibit it to get up there. And then when you get to the top, you're rewarded with the beauty of his homeland and what he was fighting for. So it was to me, it was a very meaningful, like, little side quest in our video game of a trip.
The view from the tower also really gave you a great visual for the landscape in which this really strategic battle took place, where the Scots were able to kind of succeed against the English because it took place. They basically destroyed a bridge, and they put the English in a really precarious
Well, they
position.
cut the army in half, so half the army had gotten across the bridge, and then they cut them off. But from the way it sounded, and the story was told, that was really the battle for William Wallace. And but clearly that's not true, because a lot of the stories of him kind of attacking and raiding other places in England. But it seemed to, at least from the way they told the story, that was the main success that he had.
I mean, success is in the eye of the beholder.
Well,
but part of it isn't just about winning in battle. It's about kind of organizing, there, like, one of the exhibits was kind of talking about how in terms of like weaponry and numbers, the Scots really didn't have much of an advantage, and so it really came down to like dynamic personalities like William Wallace and the other
Unite the clans.
Yeah.
Unite them. I could go all night. Anyway, I thought it was really beautiful. One of my favorite parts of the trip so far. And there's really no way you could cut that one short, because you got to climb all those stairs. And we actually, one of the few places where it was just the two of us at the top of that monument for a good 5-10 minutes. So we got to really take it in and take some video and pictures.
It's nice to visit monuments where there's sort of like a physical obstacle that will kind of weed out some of the tourists.
It's so true. That's true. Like, you aren't making it up here, everybody.
No, I shouldn't say that. It's a really ableist thing to say. But
no,
sometimes when we tour these castles, we'll be like in a state's room, like looking at somebody's like fine china or paintings, and they'll be like,
people with no cognizance of their own personal space or the personal space of anyone else.
I've just had
or because there's a lot of folks that don't necessarily speak English, so there are signs like, please keep off the grass,
or no photography,
and
Can you tell we both really like rules?
I love rules.
We're just legalistic.
I also was the guy that took out my phone to take a picture.
I know, I just swatted it out of his hand.
I just forgot.
I know.
You know what I mean? Like you said, we've been in a lot of castles. Some are cool with it. Some are like, don't. Anyway, we love that one. Where did we go from there? We drove. I wanted to go see Loch Lomond and the Tressocks. And so Loch Lomond was the first of many lochs we drove by, but it's a national park. It's huge. It's beautiful. It was just kind of the beginning of the beauty. We went into a little town called Luss, Luss, Luss. And I just wanted to find a place to park so we could go see the water, and ended up parking by an old chapel that had the current building, it was more recent, but there had been a monastery and a site there since the 700s. There were even like old Viking, I almost said Norwegian, but Viking like stones there and stuff. It was, anyway, very cool, like kind of side thing we didn't even know we were going to see. Then we drove up through what I'm just going to call heaven on earth. That's what I'm going to call it. Glencoe, Three Sisters, that whole area is like part primordial, like I could see dinosaurs running around. It's part like Grand Canyon. It's part like glacier. It's part, I don't know.
Just in terms of like, all those are examples of just like how enormous the landscape is and vast. And, I think especially when the roads are that narrow, it kind of also makes you feel really small and insignificant.
Everything's tiny.
But we also just got to see it at the most beautiful part of the day, like golden hour, and the sun's kind of just casting this really beautiful light on everything. It's so green, lots of tall grasses and purple heather everywhere,
and it was sunny, like both yesterday and today, with the exception of this morning. But it's great. It was incredible.
When we're in places like that, Ben will be like, he'll like hop in the car and be like, okay, we gotta go. We gotta like make it to point X, Y, and Z. And then we'll be like, the second we hit like like the speed limit. He'll see something that he wants to take a picture of, and then we'll pull over. And he'll jump out of the car and take a picture and like hop back in. Okay, we gotta go. We gotta get out of here.
That's my life.
And it happens.
That's
like
me
10
by
more
myself. It's not just with you. It's anytime, like, because I always think there's like another better kind of shot or opportunity or vantage point, and like mostly I don't want to leave. And we had to drive through it in the dark tonight. Made me very sad. Or this evening. Anyway, went from Glencoe, drove briefly through Fort William, Invergary. Then we drove up through Durnie, which is like the kind of the gateway to the Skye Bridge and the Isle of Skye. And the Isle of Skye is just more of the same. It's like I felt like I was in home. It was like a little bit of ocean, smelling the ocean. It's an island. It's mountainy. I mean, just you're driving in and out of these huge valleys, and
it has
everything. And I love the fog. It's my favorite weather ever. And
yeah, all the mountains were wearing wispy clouds like feather boas. They got all dressed up.
Just say it. Tell it to the people. I love the fog. I could. Anyway, I was also like, we got to go to Portree. It was on my list because there's this really cool row of houses, and it's a cool little fishing.
All the houses are like different colors.
Oh yeah, sorry, color.
It's very picturesque, and it was probably about an hour and a half away,
but only 10 minutes from where our cottage was.
But it was getting late.
Yeah, and you know, in America we're like 1,000% capitalist, so like we make people stay open late. And you know, like even if we show up late, we're just expect to have a table at a restaurant. Even if you show up 10 minutes before close or 5 minutes before close, if you're open, you're expected to stay open, and then service folks have to stay even later than their normal closing time, and kitchen staff have to stay. So over there, they're like, if the dining room is full at 8:30 and they close at 9 or at 8 o'clock, they're like, we're done. So I didn't know that. Also, the Isle of Skye has become a huge tourist destination, and tourists outnumber the locals by 1 billion to 1. So even though we're kind of out of season right now, it's still quite busy. So I didn't know that. And so Amanda saved the day. We went to a little grocery store and found some dinner, a little pizza that we cooked, and a really great mixed bag of salad that he found, and a bottle of wine. And we headed to this little cute cottage I'd found called the Loch Eyre Cottage, Eyre, Ayre. And we watched a movie.
Ben parked, and it was totally dark outside, and I thought he was talking to the Airbnb host, and it just turns out it was a guy in the neighborhood, and he was the nicest dude. It was really nice after a long day, because I opened my car door, and his dog just came right up to me, and I was like, I like this greeting committee for the neighborhood. But
Peter's worked for Scotland Water for 34 years. Mm-hmm. And he was telling us all about Isle of Skye and, you know, the folks that own the cottage.
Very, very friendly
all the
guy.
local info.
We were
asking us about it. And every time the subject would move a little bit, he'd be like, all right. I know you just got here. I know you got it. And then he would just on to the next thing. It was
like a Midwestern hello.
It was absolutely that.
But really, really friendly, warm guy. I told Ben when we leave a review for the Airbnb, we need to say the best part of our stay was Peter.
That wasn't an Airbnb, but I will.
Oh, whatever it was. Sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. It was tough, very tough to find a place to stay on Isle of Skye. Mm-hmm. Anyway, yeah, that was it. We watched the other guys and had dinner. Or when I say we watched it, mostly I fell asleep to it. Maybe you watched it. No, fell asleep. But yeah, that was yesterday. And then we did a little recap video during the day today because we did an on-scene one. I thought that'd be fun. So it's very short, but we might just use that for our day today. Anyway, stay tuned for that.